That is Coach John Crawford joining us here for you.
Good evening, St. Louis, and welcome into live here at Chaifetz Arena as the Billikens win another one, this one taking down the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons 91-60. They ran this one from the get-go and didn't really look back from there. A 20-12 lead opened up in really the first run of the game, and the Billikens never looked the other way. A huge game here as they open up this season 5-0, and they finally are going to go on the road after this one, a big game against Santa Clara coming up on Thanksgiving. As we get into the show, I want to tell everyone about our wonderful sponsors. Of course, check out our wonderful friends, I should say, at Home Bank. They are member FDIC, and they are our partner here at STL Sports Central. When we were starting things up, we knew we had to get a banking partner, and Home Bank was the banking partner that we decided to work with. Please check them out right now at myhomebank.bank. That's myhomebank.bank. Also give them a call at 855-577-2001. And as we always do with our Home Bank money moment of the game, we're going to dive right into it off the gate, and it's going to be Dion Brown. At different times throughout this game, he is the player of this game, but we're going to go right to the early on in the second half. The Billikens take over. They already had a big lead, but then Dion Brown did exactly what he did early on in this game, and he got involved down low. He got some post play, he got some layups, and the Billikens were able to extend their halftime lead to an even bigger lead, and they never looked back again. A 31-point lead, and Dion Brown's explosion in the second half. That is our money moment of the game, because that is what paced the Billikens for that second half and set them up for this huge 91-60 win. As we get involved here on STL Sports Central, my co-host for tonight will be the voice of the Billikens, Bob Ramsey. That's why we're getting started a little bit late. He's talking right now to Josh Schertz, so he will be joining, sitting right over here to my right. We'll get a little insights on what he heard from Josh Schertz. We'll get his thoughts from the game, and we'll keep on diving in. If you want to join this show, much like the legend Bob Ramsey will in a little bit, you can right now on the YouTube chat. Get involved. We will get your chats up. Let me know what you think about the Billikens. It doesn't have to be about tonight's game, 91-60 win, where they're doubling them up 70-35 at one point. Maybe you don't have a lot of takeaways from this exact game, but this is a 5-0 start for the Billikens. This is their first 5-0 start in over 5 seasons. An absolutely huge beginning here for Josh Schertz in his second season. Again, it's not about the point totals. You know, they failed to get to 100 today. It's not about beating low-ranked teams by 40 points. It's how they're doing it. And that's the big thing with the Billikens. Dion Brown has been an absolute revelation in these first 5 games. He's been the leading scorer twice, and his ability to get downhill against defenses has been unprecedented. The fact that they're getting involved in all of these guard post-ups has been fascinating. I thought it was just going to be something we maybe saw sprinkled in that SEMO game, but every game we keep seeing more and more guard post-ups set up for Dion Brown. He probably needs to hit the shooter a little bit more often on that guard post-up, as we saw tonight, where they were spreading 4 out wide and Dion Brown wasn't hitting the passes you would expect him to. But nonetheless, still a pretty impressive game overall from Dion Brown in the offense. A lot of big names to talk about today. Robbie Avila has another big game, and there really is an aspect of Robbie Avila's game that's really become apparent this season. I plan on talking about that with Bob Ramsey when he joins us here in a little bit. Our betting expert, Eric Sontag, comes in at halftime. I live bet SLU's team total 90.5 on the over. I owe Isaac Holmes a beer. 10 more days, and everyone can enjoy this gambling goodness on DraftKings. You know what? He's going to lead me right into it. I'm going to talk about it right now, guys. Got to tell you about our good friends and our wonderful sponsors at DraftKings. Missouri, big news. It's almost your turn to get into the game. Just like Eric Sontag was talking about, we're just, 12 days away from getting us in. Are there 30 days in November? Maybe it's only 11, like Eric just said. Big news here in Missouri. DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st, and soon you'll get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder it's America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown is on. New customers can sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day. Jump in right now. Use that promo code STL Sports. That's how you're going to get involved. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code STL Sports right on your screen. New Missouri customers sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code STL Sports. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Deion Brown, I already talked about it a little bit. I want to just dive in and really show you guys how much he paced this Billikens offense, because he finishes this game with 21, 4, 1, and 1. In fact, Deion Brown only finishing with 4 rebounds. Is that correct? That might be the most incredible stat of this entire game. Deion Brown coming into this game averaging just under 8 rebounds, only walks away with 4 tonight, but those 21 points were crucial. The big reason why those 21 points were so crucial, Deion Brown had 8 points in that first stretch, the first 6 minutes of the game when the starting lineup was out there. Deion Brown had 8 points in that opening 20-point stretch for the Billikens. And then when he comes in and he starts the second half, he has 7 points. And again, the Billikens opening run right off the bat. So the fact that he's able to just get in there and pace the offense, he's doing it with drives, he's doing it with spin moves, he's doing it with guard post-ups that I was just talking about. Deion Brown has completely given the Billikens a dynamic that I don't think anyone really expected. I mean, look at every big part of this Billiken team right now. Robbie Avila is dominating, shooting from 3, and he's a great passer. We knew those things about him. We knew when you look at Kellen Thames, if he was going to be healthy this year, he was going to be an incredibly impactful player for this Billikens team. And in fact, he's had 2 down games, and the Billikens have still been able to run, including over GCU. Kellen Thames in tonight games finished with, coming off the bench, finishes 19 and a half minutes for 6 points, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and 8 rebounds. Big rebounding night from Kellen Thames. But a lot of these players, we're seeing what we expected from them. And if you dive into the numbers, you could have been expecting Deion Brown to have these rebounding numbers. Again, he averaged almost 8 a game as a freshman at UMBC. Comes down to about 4 at BC. But again, that's a BC team that needed a lot of help, and he was playing against a very tough ACC schedule, and he was getting 4 rebounds a game as a 6'3" guard. So we're not surprised by the rebounds with Deion Brown. This offensive production for him is something that it was hard to see where it was going to come in when you looked at his numbers at UMBC and BC. Part of the reason, and I pointed this out in our Billikens preview this season that you can go on to STL Sports Central and read right now. Sorry, it was behind the paywall earlier this month. It's no longer behind that paywall. But Deion Brown hasn't played with this much talent in his entire basketball career. Deion Brown hasn't played with passers that are this good. I don't know if there was a lot of guys at UMBC and BC who could have hit him with an entry pass. I mean, that's a little thing, but right now it's a crucial aspect of Deion Brown's game, which is getting inside on these guard post-ups. And I just don't know if he had a point guard or somebody like Robbie, a big man, who could get him inside on those guard post-ups. Again, I think the best passer by numbers that Deion Brown played with in his 2 years of college basketball before he got to the Billikens was a guy with 3.5 assists. So when you come into this Billikens team and you have Robbie Avila, who's an incredible passer, you have guys like Quentin Jones who have filled up the stat sheet before. You have Amari McCautry, who clearly has grown as a ball handler. Didn't really show it tonight, but clearly this season has grown as a ball handler. So when you have so much more passing talent, it shouldn't surprise us that Deion Brown is, one, having a big game as a driver and getting in these lanes and finding these post-up holes. But his 3-point shooting is something that I really expected to take a jump. He was about a 35% career shooter coming into the season for the Billikens. But again, he wasn't playing with good scorers. He wasn't playing with good passers in his career. So what does that 35% number even mean? It seemed like it was a little soft to me, and so far it's been soft. He had 1 3-pointer today. It actually rimmed out before somehow bouncing back in. But I think it just shows you that the ceiling for Deion Brown, and therefore I think the ceiling for this Billikens team, we haven't seen it yet. And that brings us into Robbie Avila, and I'm going to bring this back up when Rammer joins it. But, I mean, his 3-point shooting this year has been absolutely insane. He goes 4 for 5 tonight from deep, and all 4 of those makes came from similar spots, which is Robbie Avila loves the slot. Now, the slot, if you're looking towards the basket, you're standing at the top of the key. The slot is the 2 spots, kind of the 2 zones to the right and left of the top of the key. And Robbie Avila lives in the slot, whether it's the right or left slot. It appears, based on numbers, he likes the left slot a little bit better, but he's been dominant on either slot side, and it doesn't matter if he's a shooter, where he has been knocking down slot three-pointers from 4 or 5 feet behind the college three-point line, or it's as a driver. The few times that SLU has been in a point where it's like they need a bucket, Robbie Avila has called for the ball on a post-up beyond the three-point line in either the left or right slot. He has then taken the big man to school on a dribble drive and gotten the 2 points for the Billikens. So one thing to watch as we watch these Billiken games the rest of the season, and as this schedule starts to get much more tricky, including Thursday night, Thanksgiving, when you guys are all stuffed with turkey, the Billikens are going for a big game against Santa Clara. One thing to watch for is Robbie Avila getting the ball in either of those left or right slots? Or are teams going to figure out ways to move him away? Are they going to force him into the corner a little bit? Probably wouldn't be a problem for the Billikens. He'll probably be a better shooter from the corner because that's just how statistics work. Do they force the ball inside from him? Do they start doubling him? Do they play ball denial with Robbie Avila? These teams for the majority of this season, in these first 4 of the 5 games, have been too overwhelmed with all of the other weapons that the Billikens have that I haven't seen a team really been able to lock in and take away parts of Robbie Avila's game yet. That will change. A team like Santa Clara, as you get into conference play, teams will figure out not how to silence Robbie Avila. He's the best player on this team, and he won't be silenced, but they will figure out how to slow down Robbie Avila in different ways. They'll take away those slots from him. They'll run him off the line more. They'll try to crowd up his passing lanes and things like that. That's just something you're going to have to watch for as this Billikens team starts playing much more talented squads. And again, that's coming up Thursday night, Thanksgiving. They'll be facing off against Santa Clara. You'll be able to find us right here on the Billikens Central Postgame as you can after all the Billikens games, even Thanksgiving on the holiday. We'll be right here late night to talk to you guys as you're getting ready for, I'm sure, some sales in the Black Friday world. Samuel Howe, 1645, jumps into the chat and says, this team is looking like something special for an Atlantic 10 team. There is no need for the qualifier, Samuel Howe. The Atlantic 10 having a very good start to their season, so there's no need to qualify that. This is a tough, physical league, and this team has an offense that's running not even at its highest level yet. That's another thing. The turnovers, when you look at the Billikens today, 10 turnovers in the first half to 10 assists. In the second half, that number breaks out as 6 turnovers to 9 assists. So still not great. You don't like the 16 turnovers, but this is a Purdue-Fort Wayne team that forced Ohio State into 19 turnovers. So when I look at the Billikens having 10 first-half turnovers and finishing the game with 16, that's not terrible. This is a team where turnovers can very easily derail the offense. In fact, the 16 turnovers is the only reason we didn't have a third 100-point game. I actually guaranteed on the morning show this morning that the Billikens would score 100 tonight. Little egg on the face here because the offense just a little bit too many turnovers, a little bit too much sloppy play. And honestly, Schertz has probably just cost this team in a 100-point game because he's playing the freshman. And I know there's some fans out there who are bothered by, who are wondering about it. I think if you're Josh Schertz right now, I looked at Zach Bovair for a second. If you're Josh Schertz right now, using this time to coach freshmen is so invaluable. And I know fans are going to be bothered by it. They've already given up some leads that I think people think are material when you talk about the net and things like that because the committee and the net are stupid. But people are worrying about point difference and things like that. Josh Schertz, on the other hand, is worrying about a point differential, on a Saturday night in the A-10 in a road game where Robbie Avila has, 4 fouls and Paulatino already fouled out. And he needs to know can I play Jax Kerr when it's a 2-point game with 6 minutes left? Not for the rest of the game, but maybe for 3 or 4 minutes so I don't have to worry about Robbie getting that 5th foul. That's the situation that I think is in Josh Schertz's head when he plays Jax Kerr when they're up 35 and the lead dwindles down to 27 or 28, whatever it had gotten down to before it ramped back up. Those are the moments that Josh Schertz is preparing for. And in fact, if you're a Billikens fan, those are the moments you want Josh Schertz to be preparing for. Let's move on to Eggplant Emoji, who jumps into the chat. Do we think the Billikens can get an 8 seed in the tournament? All right, that's going to be a tricky one, and this is going to be an answer I'm going to have to come back to you, Eggplant Emoji, as the season goes on, because what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to look at the dominant or the most dominant mid-major conference champions. Where did they finish? And where were they in tournament games and things like that? That'll be the big question. But we're going to actually have to move on from that question. And our man, Bob Ramsey, is going to join us. We're going to hand him a microphone. We're going to put him on camera right there. You're right there. You're right there, sir. Thank you so much for joining, Bob Ramsey. What did you think of today's game?
Well, you score 91 points, and you expect that we're going to talk about offense,
Yeah.
but it was defense.
Yes.
Amazing defense against a team. For those who don't know, PFW, they played a heck of a schedule,
Yes.
and against unbelievable competition. I'm sure you've already talked about it. Yet they're still average. Now they lose some of those games, but they're averaging 90 points a game.
Yeah.
And to hold them to 60, just it really remarkable defense. And we just got done talking to Coach Shirks. I know you'll visit with him in a little bit, but it was. I think it was the defense that was just off the charts. And then the other point was Deion Brown, who we love anyway, and he just went off again tonight offensively to go with all the rebounding and the defense and those sorts of things. And I thought of you, Coach Third. Coach Shirt said all the great things he does. He goes, but then he goes, although I've never had a player that messed up spacing worse than Deion Brown. So even when you're great and almost perfect, Coach Shirt says, well, you're not perfect yet. And so I thought that was really good insight, though.
Yeah. So one thing I talked about with Deion Brown is 21 points, and 13 of those 21 points came with, or actually not 13, 15 of the 21. I did my math wrong. He had 8 points in the first 5 minutes of the first half, and then he has 7 points in the first 5 minutes of the second half. For you, kind of feeling the flow of the game, how big was he just in both the starts of the halves?
Well, and he does it on both ends of the court. It's funny, during the game, Earl and I are just amazed by Deion, and we're trying to think of, in Billiken history, who he is. And he's kind of a hybrid of some of the greatest players we've ever had. You know, he's a honey badger like Kevin Lish, but Kevin Lish couldn't get up to the rim to rebound. You know what I mean? And Kevin's more of a pure jump shooter. So you say, well, does he drive the ball like Marquis Perry or Justin Love? Yeah, kind of. But then but then you throw in the driving ability and the defensive Jordair Jet. So I've just mentioned 3 or 4 of the greatest players that ever played for the Billikens, and it's all in this one little guy. I call him little, 6'3", but the second smallest guy on the team.
It's hard not to make the Jordan Goodwin comparisons because, I mean, guard post-ups, the rebounding numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard not to make those comparisons. He is a special player, and it seems like he's opened up a new avenue for the Billikens to kind of attack you.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the other thing that's interesting about him and Quentin Jones, Coach said these are really winning players, but they've never won in their career.
Yes.
They've been in bad programs, and the exuberance they have for finally being able to win. And it just, it empowers them to do more. And I think that's really a neat story and concept to think about as they move forward.
I was talking about tonight, we've seen so much of the things we expected from the Billikens. Deion Brown's been above our expectations. Really the only one player I would say who hasn't maybe hit the highs we expected is Quentin Jones. I'm not saying he's had bad games, but he hasn't filled up the stat sheet. He hasn't had that big scoring game you expected from him. Again, that's another point, though, that tells you the ceiling for this Billikens team, we haven't seen it yet.
Well, and I don't want to get ahead of what your thoughts are on our little conversation here, but Coach Shirt said we're pretty good. Can we get to great? And he said it's going to be the competition that'll push us to great if we're going to get there. And that's why he's so excited to go to the desert next week, that you've got to get that good competition to bring out the best in you, and that there's still more room to grow. And Jones is a perfect example, although how about running the floor in the alley-oop from Green?
That was special. That was special.
Special.
Yeah, he's I mean, so many players are just, the athleticism of this team compared to last year is just, it's completely
compared
different.
To any year.
Oh, there you go.
Any year.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
Well, because your depth is just one more athlete coming in and another athlete coming in and another athlete coming in. So instead of having 3 or 4 unbelievable athletes on great teams, now you got 9.
Sharma, Thames, and Otieno was the first bench shift.
Yeah,
for the Billikens tonight. That's insane.
It's insane. It really is. And again, you know, really good teams. Rich Crowder and the O's NIT final teams, Spoonball, even the second iteration with Larry Hughes, and then you go to what Rick Majerus did. Great players, but none of them had the depth. None of them.
That's the issue there. And so when you talk about this team, look forward to Santa Clara on Thanksgiving night. It's going to be a huge game for the Billikens.
Assuming Santa Clara wins tonight, 2 undefeated teams.
That's true. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be a tricky game, obviously, for the Billikens. It's going to be their first big test. Obviously, GCU, they passed that one with flying colors. Other than turnovers, what are you looking at for the Billikens over this next week as they get ready for Santa Clara?
And I think that remains to again, that next level of don't make mental mistakes. And they had 16 turnovers. That's a lot, but at that pace, it's not too many. I don't know what the turnover percentage was, probably a little under 20.
Yeah, a little bit.
And 17 is kind of the goal. But when you take a look at 3 or 4 of them were kind of mental error mistakes. And so now you're down to 13 or 12. And you're going, that's where you want to be. And so I think that's the next thing to say, okay, let's lock in on focus for 40 full minutes.
Last thing here. I didn't expect Robbie Avila just to randomly extend his shot to NBA range.
Earl Austin said the same
God.
thing. He's 25 feet every shot.
Every single shot. It's always from that left or right slot.
Yeah.
It's also the spot where he gets to that 2-point that he loves. I was talking about it earlier in the show. I mean, he is deadly from that area. I wonder if we'll see teams start trying to deny him and maybe force him middle or to the corner. I'm sure he won't mind it.
Please.
Exactly.
Because he had 5 assists tonight. He'll have 10. He'll have a dozen because you pull that guy out. It's just more space for the guys to drive.
And you talk about the defense. You started that. We'll close it here. Amari McCautry, not a big game, but every time you watch them on the defensive side of the ball, Amari McCautry, Quentin Jones, Deion Brown, Paul Otieno, Brady Dunlap tonight as well was flying all over the place. The defense was connected in a way we hadn't seen.
Yeah, 100%. 100% right. And you'd like to think that that's just going to keep getting better. There's no reason to think it won't. Remember, 10 new players.
Yeah.
So as they get to learn each other, you expect it to get better.
Absolutely. That is Bob Ramsey. I'm Matthew Rocchio. This is the Billikens Central postgame. Rammer jumped over here after wrapping up his interview with Josh Schertz. Before we wrap up here, any big things that jumped out from your talk with Schertz that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I think the thing was that how pleased he was, and kind of just I hit the high notes, and I think that he and I've never really heard a coach talk about competition. You say, hey, we got to win games, our quad 2s and quad 1. They talk about that, but they don't talk about how good competition, if you're a good team, pushes you to be better. And I really like that takeaway.
There it is. The Billikens will try to get better on Thursday night. Thanksgiving, they face off against Santa Clara. Like Rammer says, potentially 2 undefeated games. And, well, you're going to be sitting at home just, with your belly full of turkey. The Billikens are going to be fighting for the biggest win of the season. And we'll be talking about it afterwards right here on Billikens Central Postgame. For the voice of the Billikens, Bob Ramsey, you can check out all the Billikens game and you can hear his voice on 104.1. Of course, the voice of the Billikens, our good friends at Camo X. Congratulations to Camo X for 100 years, by the way. Check them out, 104.1 for all the Billikens game. And then come here afterwards to listen to us right here on the Billikens Central postgame. I'm Matthew Rocchio. That's Bob Ramsey. Have a great night, St. Louis.